afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. It can be tough to be a parent these days and maybe even tougher to be an adolescent. Peer pressure, problem solving, and decision making are just a few issues that can overwhelm children and young adults. So today we're going to highlight a program that's proven to be effective at promoting positive youth development and strengthening families. The program is called Prosper. In a nutshell, it's a partnership between the UVM Extension 4-H program and the public school system. Prosper is already in place in 3 Vermont school districts. Across the Fence sat down with one of the program leaders to find out more.
Prosper is a team. Prosper is a collaboration between the university and Extension and schools in a certain area. So in my area, I'm partnering with Otter Valley, Lothrop, Leicester, Whiting, Sudbury, and Neshabie. And so as a team, we are the Prosper team for our community. And under that team is programming. So there's 2 different delivery programs. One is an in-school program called Life Skills that 7th graders receive during their school day. And the other is Strengthening Families. And that is an extracurricular 7-week program that brings families together so youth parents or youth and grandparents together take 7 weeks and learn how to communicate, how to respect each other, how to set ground rules, how to evolve into the next stage of being a family from being a 4th grader to being a 7th grader.
Who is the program for?
Everybody. And I actually say I have a little one at home, and we even use some of the tools with a 2.5-year-old. So what I think is great about it is it gives families the opportunity to sit down and be really intentional about who they are as a family. How do they communicate? Now that my 4th or 5th grader is turning into a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, and they're gaining more responsibilities and they're gaining more interest, and life within that teen is changing, then life within the family structure changes. So truly, it's for everybody.
How does the program work?
We have trained facilitators, and we come in and either, if it's the in-school, then it's 7th grade, and if it's out of school, it's 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, depending on the season. They meet for 7 weeks after school, usually at the school. We provide dinner. Together we eat kind of as a big family group, have a sit-down dinner, and then parents go in one room and learn the parenting side of life with a teen, and then kids go into their own room and they learn more about peer pressure, setting goals now that they are turning into teens. What are their life goals, whether it be going to college or a career? And then they come together and do a family hour where it's a lot of hands-on games, kind of like fun things that just provide parents and youth the opportunity to be together.
Prosper is expanding this year. What's new?
At RNESU, Rutland Northeast Supervisory Union, we are pulling together 5 elementary schools that all feed into Otter Valley Middle. And so we've developed a strong community team there with each of the administrators at the elementary school, other town officials, the rec department, and we've implemented life skills this past year with 7th grade. And we are really excited to bring the family programming to that district.
What else should people know about Prosper?
It's a lot of fun, and it really is an investment in family. I was recently talking to a mom of a 5th grader about the program, and she kind of had this aha moment, and it became an aha moment for me that when we have little ones, we have play groups, we set up dates, we work on social skills for that 18-month-old or 2-year-old, or as they get into preschool. And then we all kind of like go back into our little homes and enclaves, and we may be doing sports and we may be doing music lessons, but we're not as focused in the teen years of that social support network between parents and between youth. So I thought that was a great analogy of we have play groups for 3-year-olds and support groups for parents of 3-year-olds, but what are we doing at the teen years? We're doing Prosper.
For more information about the Prosper program, check the website on your screen. It's uvm.edu/extension/prosper. Well, it started as a Vermont research project in 2016 involving cows and wood chips. The hope was the research would prove to be a small step forward in improving water quality on Vermont farms. Now we know it's working. In the winter months, pasture-raised cows are kept on what's called an outwintering area. Outwintering areas are often made of concrete. These areas are expensive to build, and if they're not properly maintained, they can cause runoff into public waterways. So with an eye on improving water quality and animal comfort, UVM Extension tried something new. Here's Across the Fence's Rebecca Gollin.
It's about 120 foot per head.
Joshua Faulkner is sharing something new with Vermonters.
And today we're inviting farmers, service providers, just curious local folks. There's some folks from the watershed group here today, and we just really want to show off the practice and let folks kind of poke around.
Faulkner is the Farming and Climate Change Program Coordinator at UVM Extension's Center for Sustainable Agriculture. The big idea he's showing off is a new way to manage cattle during Vermont's long winters.
It's essentially a barnyard that's made out of wood chips.
It's a little more complicated, but the gist of it is that farmers use a thick layer of wood chips instead of the gravel or concrete that are the norm in heavy-use areas. When farmer Doug Kenyon was looking for options, he teamed up with Faulkner and UVM Extension to try something different. That turned out to be Vermont's first wood chip pad.
I was apprehensive at first, quite a bit, but we need to do something to start complying with the regulations that are coming down.
Faulkner first worked with this type of system in West Virginia and thought it would be a good fit for some Vermont operations. Having this one here in Waitsfield, adjacent to the Mad River, has given him the chance to do the water quality testing and environmental monitoring that will determine if the model is viable for others. So far, he's been impressed with the results.
It's pretty innovative. This is only the third one of these that's been built in the United States, so it's pretty new. It's a different way of thinking about barnyards. It's a different way of thinking about wintertime cattle management. So it's new. It can be used in beef systems. It can be used in dairy systems.
Beverly McMullen came to see this setup in action. She's interested in whether this approach could work on horse farms.
I thought that perhaps there would be some application for horse farming of this system that has been designed and built here at Kenyon's farm to alleviate mud and in high traffic areas, particularly in the spring, on horse farms, because that has been a problem in the past.
McMullen thinks the practice has potential, and as a member of the Vermont Horse Council, as well as the Vermont Farm Bureau, she plans to share the information with her networks. Across the Fence's Keith Silva caught up with Faulkner and Kenyon shortly after the wood pad was installed in 2016.
We want to see how these perform in these really cold winters that we have here in Vermont. So we're still learning, but by all accounts, it's 5 degrees today, and things look like they're working really well. So we're optimistic.
The cows are standing on about 12 inches of wood chips. Below that is a layer of drainage stone and piping that flows out to a nearby drainage pond. When the animals go back on pasture in the spring, the top 3 inches of wood chips will get scraped off, composted, and used as fertilizer on Kenyon's fields. Another environmental benefit is how well wood chips handle water.
When you think about concrete, most of the rainfall that falls on the concrete with the manure runs off. You got to deal with that water. You have to handle that water in a responsible way. When it rains on the wood chip pads, those wood chips soak up a lot of that water, and then they re-evaporate it, and they kind of act like a sponge. I've done some research on a couple of pads, and we've seen a reduction in runoff of about 50%. So that's 50% less dirty water that you have to deal with. And I think that's a real advantage when you think about the infrastructure you need, whether it's a holding pond or some sort of treatment system, pumping and spreading, of how much money, time, and labor you have to put into dealing with that dirty water. And of course, you know, less dirty water you have, the less risk you have of potentially polluting.
Kenyon's decision to install a wood chip pad aligns with the Vermont Agency of Agriculture's new required agricultural practices to limit runoff and improve water quality.
We all are going to have to come into compliance with runoff into the water systems, and this is supposed to help mitigate that, and hopefully it does. It's a step in the right direction. I like the idea of this system better than the alternative that I was offered.
Now that it's been close to a year, Kenyon has more to say.
The cows are more comfortable. I don't have to lock them in a tight area, which I won't do, and they were comfortable all winter. It worked. I'm impressed with it. I really am. If we can do another one someday for the brood cows, I would do that too. It just makes a lot of sense. A lot less labor, a lot less mess, a lot less everything.
The quality of the water really shows how well we're taking care of the land, and we really care about taking care of the land so that we can see that we're doing a good job in the water.
As executive director of the Friends of the Mad River, Corey Miller is keeping an eye on how things are going here.
Doug's trying something new, and it's exciting, and it seems to be a win for the animals and for the environment at the same time, and that's exciting. And I think it's something to see how it goes, and if it's possible that other farmers might be interested, that could be really neat.
Miller is looking forward to getting more information on the long-term and economic implications of using the system.
Economically, I'd be interested to know how much it's going to cost, and if it's something that's sustainable over time, or if it's too much of a burden to the farmers. I'm intrigued by the long-term maintenance costs, and if it's worth, if the additional costs are worth the reduced labor, it could be an exciting thing.
Another economic boost could be for Vermont's timber industry in producing the wood chips. That possibility brought UVM Extension's Chris Lindgren, who focuses on forest product businesses.
Mainly curious about the application of using wood chips, which is a forest product, and wider use of wood chips.
Lindgren, too, is reserving judgment until the data is in.
Well, right now I'm really thinking about costs on both sides. You know, how it could help loggers who are businesses selling wood chips. Could it help them keep their businesses, grow their businesses? And then the cost, is it the right cost that people are going to adopt the practice so that it'll be widely utilized? And then what are the sort of maintenance costs? And then the maintenance, again, on the selling side, how much maintenance do they need of wood chips as far as, again, another market for loggers?
Faulkner hopes that by seeing these new practices in action, the farmers and industry representatives here will help spread the word. The wood chips aren't suitable for every operation, but Faulkner believes it could be just right for some.
I think this could work on a lot of farms in Vermont. You're always constrained with some engineering practices by the site. You know, if there's shallow bedrock or high water tables, things like that. I mean, there are going to be those situations. But really, you know, I think it can work on a lot of farms, and especially some of our smaller farms and some of the medium-sized farms. I think it's a really good fit for that. It's a Vermont, I've said this before, it's a Vermont scale practice.
As for Doug Kenyon, he has some advice for farmers who are interested.
If they could put one together and it helps the environment like they're asking us to, then try to figure out how to do it and get an engineer to help you design it with the soil that's available and the amount of animals you want to keep. Look into it at least.
Bringing Vermont-sized solutions to Vermont businesses and helping farmers think outside the box. In Waitsfield, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.